Are you ready to be the happiest person that you know? I hope so, and I want to be the guy to take you there. My name is Joe, and I'm a retired firefighter, and I'm the happiest person that I know, despite the fact that several years ago, I literally had a gun to my own head after an on-the-job injury forced me into a medical retirement, followed by the loss of several loved ones, and a dark battle with grief, PTSD, and depression. But I fought my way out of that, and I prevailed, and I gained unshakable joy and the amazing ability to be totally okay, even when my life circumstances aren't okay at all. And now, nothing brings me greater happiness than sharing with people the tools that led me here, which is exactly what I'm doing at the Grit, Growth, and Gratitude podcast. I'm dropping episodes every week that teach you how to maximize your happiness when times are good and barrel through any obstacle when times are rough. So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, because you deserve to have way more thrive days than just survive days, and to have a kick-ass life that you enjoy. I'll see you there.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE podcast.
The one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE podcast. It's time for the flagship show of the week. It's time for the week in review as we look back on everything that happened this week in WWE for Raw and SmackDown. And I hope everybody's having a great weekend as we are heading towards the last week of April, believe it or not, which is just, how does this happen? You know, you blink, you turn around, and it's, you know, winter's over. And you blink and you turn around and summer's almost gone. And then, you know, as things just keep on rolling, right? Like then it's fall and winter. And you just, I don't know. As I get older, I find time seems to perceivably go faster. But nonetheless, we're here to talk pro wrestling. Hope all of you are doing well, as I said. And if you want to get rid of the ads, simple way to do it. Patreon.com/WWE podcast. And we've got, boy, you guys send in emails seemingly the day after the mailbag drops. I'll be getting to those obviously at the very beginning of our next mailbag show. And if you want to participate in our mailbag, if you're new to the show, I have a podcast every week dedicated to the listeners to answer your questions or your voicemails, which that number to call is in the description notes of every mailbag show if you're interested in joining us there. And also Apple Podcasts, if you want to go ad-free and you don't want to go outside of the Apple Podcast app, no problem. You have a 7-day free trial on Apple Podcasts, or 1 week to just try us out for free. And then it's $2.99 a month, or if you want to take the yearly option, it's $30 for the year, but it gives you 2 months for free. All right, let's move on. Let's get to this week, guys. What'd you think? I mean, we're kind of in a weird spot. Backlash is 2 weeks away. We are also now firmly past WrestleMania. We don't have a big pay-per-view until, I mean, the O2 Arena, right? Probably. Well, you could consider the Saudi Arabia event with Roman Reigns' 1,000-day celebration. That is going to be a massive deal, and they're going to promote the hell out of it. That's really the next big event is May 26th, I think 27th, whatever that Saturday is. That will fall on Roman Reigns' 1,000th day as champion. That day is upon us. It is coming. It is a month away. Those of you that doubted that they were going to achieve this, now you know WWE loves their round numbers, their statistics, and pushing Roman Reigns up the charts on the all-time list. So, anytime you're tempted to say, hey, oh, this guy could beat Roman, that guy could beat Roman, think to yourself, does WWE feel that way too? Are they willing to give the victory to X person at the sacrifice of giving up, moving Roman Reigns up the ranks and maybe making him the number one all-time champion? But, you know, I mean, that's unfortunately the world we live in if you're ready for Roman to be champion or not be champion anymore. But I think we've now seen that they are willing to sacrifice just about any opportunity to keep Roman Reigns champion. So there is really nothing off the table after what they've pulled the last 6 months or so. And I say pulled as if they're doing something really wrong. They're not. I still think that while Sami Zayn in Montreal was a perfect opportunity, and I stand by it, and Cody Rhodes wouldn't have been a bad option either at WrestleMania. I get why they're doing what they're doing. I get it. But do I agree with it? Not necessarily. I mean, I probably would have had Roman drop the belt a while back. But anyway, let's talk about this week, guys. So, biggest news stories of the week. Cody Rhodes' brawl, taking out 25 security guards, which, hey, I know what they're going for there. Is it believable that Cody Rhodes could take out 25 guys, even of average fitness? No. Okay, it's not. And, however, when you take that out of it, the purpose of that segment was to show Cody's rage and to show Brock Lesnar and his apathy and not taking this seriously, and also not being held back. Cody was the one being held back while Brock Lesnar got paid $2 million to show up to Raw in a new black trench coat to stand there. I mean, and I say that in a bit of a jealous lens. That much money to just stand there and not have to take a bump. But that's been kind of Brock Lesnar's MO since he came back to WWE. How many times did we see Paul Heyman, when he was the Advocate, come out on Raw and Brock's just standing there making mean faces, and it was just a promo and Brock would leave? Saw that a lot, so I guess I shouldn't be shocked. But nonetheless, that was a big news story coming out of the week with Cody Rhodes taking out all of the security guards, Trish Stratus having her explanation that I thought was better than it could have gone given Trish's ability to cut promos. The only flaw I saw in Trish's logic is that she said, hey, I wanted to be the one to turn on Becky. Then why did you fight so valiantly in the tag team title match, Trish? It wasn't as if she turned on Becky in the middle of the match. No, she's the one that lost fair and square. I mean, I guess the story that's being pushed is, I wanted to be the one to turn on you. No. That doesn't make any sense. Just because of how it ended up. But you know what? All's well that ends well. And if we're gonna have a story of Becky versus Trish, hey, fine. It likely is going to last a couple of months. They don't turn a nostalgic act heel just to have a one-off. It seems as if Trish will be around for a few months at the very least. I don't know how long her run is just scheduled to be. I don't know. And there's talk of Trish versus Lita. Do they really want to go that road one-on-one? We'll find out. I wouldn't. I have mixed feelings on that too, because here's the thing. We look back at Trish versus Lita as one of the best rivalries for the women in WWE history, right? Especially during a time when the women were objectified and sexualized and all that stuff. But I think that even if they're able to go, and both of them seem to be in incredible shape, and credit to them, my concern is, if you do that, it may look and sound good on paper. It may create a social media buzz. You may get that warm, fuzzy feeling of nostalgia as a wrestling fan that used to watch back then. But if they're smart, they won't do a one-on-one with Trish and Lita, because I think it'll taint how we look at that rivalry. The reason is because the women's rivalries and matches now are so much better and far superior that if we were to take it and compare it side by side, which we would be forced to do if Lita and Trish happens, it'll be exposed for what it is. Kind of a lackluster, okay women's match. Now, again, I'm only saying that because back in the day, it was viewed as credible. It added the one element of credibility to the women's division, one of the few that existed outside of just being sex objects. And we viewed it as good and respectable. And wow, these women are actually pretty good. But when you put those two women, even if they were in their prime, up against, some of the best women today, which the matches we've seen was Charlotte and Rhea, or Sasha Banks when she was here, or Bayley, or Becky and Bianca, go down the list. I mean, I don't think they would want fans to make that comparison and then kind of look back and go, wow, were Trish and Lita always this subpar in the ring? Unless they blow me away, but I have a sneaking suspicion they're not going to do Lita and Trish one-on-one. Anyway, I didn't mean to get on that tangent, but those are the two big talking points of the week. Of Solo Sikoa, this dude continues to rake. Outside of, and I'm looking back, and I don't know if the loss to Cody Rhodes was worth it, the Monday Night Raw before Mania, because keeping him undefeated would be a hell of a thing. And I'm looking at Solo Sikoa every week, and they continue to put him in prominent positions, in positions of main event, working with top talent. He doesn't cut promos. He's got a face that, luckily for him, doesn't require him to say a whole lot. But that, I'm okay with that. Again, that's not a complaint. That's a unique trait, and good for him. Eventually, he'll have to come out of the shell, and I know he did this in NXT, but he's going to have to tweak that to his character of being in the bloodline, or when he breaks away from the bloodline, whatever it may be. But Solo Sikoa right now is front and center. He looks dominant. He's continuing to grow. He doesn't always need assistance, although, okay, fine, on SmackDown against Riddle, the Usos interfered. To be fair, it was a no disqualification match, so, Riddle should have expected that, and he fought off the Usos for a little while. But legally, we had Solo Sikoa win that match legally and fair and square, per se. But Solo continues to look like a badass. The Samoan Spike is awesome. Seeing the Samoan Spike make a comeback is something I didn't know I even wanted. When Umaga used it, I loved it. And now that he's keeping it back and bringing it back to the family, it's a great... Whoever suggested that, give them a little bit of a bonus, because it perfectly fits Solo's stature and his demeanor and his personality. And he also can hit it super quick, as we saw on Matt Riddle this past week on SmackDown. We saw a really nice Samoan Spike that actually Michael Cole was confused for a clothesline, but it was a Samoan Spike. And I saw it in real time, and I said, wow, there it is, bam. And Cole, I could see why he was confused, but it's nice to know that Solo doesn't have to have the yelling setup to hit the Samoan Spike. It's a great finish. It's a believable finish, and I like it. So just A+ all the way around for Solo. I know many of you out there are looking at Solo as a guy that will be a WrestleMania main eventer and or world champion in the next 1 to 2 years. I understand why. I'm not quite that high where he could main event WrestleMania yet. I mean, that's rarefied air. I would taper it back a bit. Things still need to grow, especially on the personality side with Solo, and whenever he breaks from Roman. But I understand why you're feeling that way. He does have a nice, really nice and authentic feel to his character. So Solo is an asset you didn't know you really wanted. I would say the least important asset is probably Jimmy Uso, Jimmy's probably the forgotten one. Jay's getting praise for how awesome his acting is, and his ability to show confliction and stress and everything else, and Jay's been brilliant. Jimmy, and I don't say he's not an asset that you would throw away. Clearly, no, he's amazing in the tag team with Jay, and arguably the greatest tag team of all time in WWE. But he doesn't have that kind of solo act yet. He hasn't had that breakout feel to him. He still feels like part of the furniture, so to speak. I don't know if there's a better analogy. He just feels like he doesn't have his own individual identity. He just kind of feels like he's part of the bloodline. He does his work well. He does, he's a good promo. He's excellent in the ring, all that, but he just kind of feels there, where Solo has an individual identity and Jay does as well. And it just feels a little bit like Jimmy, if he wants to be a breakout star at some point, needs to also work on that. Maybe that's not his plan, but my thoughts anyway. All right. So what else happened this week? I also have to mention Matt Riddle again. I like Matt Riddle's seriousness. He's taking the joking nonsense out of his character. I mentioned that on the Raw review. I think that is a huge asset and a huge swing in his favor to be taken seriously. He's really good in the ring, and I'm glad that they took a more serious approach, because that's exactly what it should be. I don't mind if he's joking around with Randy and they had an amazing chemistry, but when it comes down to business, it's time to get down to business, right? So I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the Gunther and Xavier Woods match, and the argument that, and the announcers trying to position the match that Xavier's taking Gunther to the limit. Stop it. No, he's not. Okay. Sheamus took Gunther to the limit. Xavier merely tested Gunther. Okay. So stop. I know that they're trying to put Xavier over, and look, for all the crap I give the New Day, and I stand 1,000,000% by everything I've ever said about the New Day and their characters, in the ring, Xavier Woods is really good. And it's a shame he has a character that's all about video games, inside jokes, trombones. It's a shame, because I think Xavier's more than that. And they're just sticking him in that comfort zone for one reason or another. And hey, I know why they do it, but I don't agree with it. And I think Xavier could be a bigger star than they realize he could be with all this jokey stuff. So, but hey, this was a good match. A good match. I mean, I enjoyed it. And some of the near falls, they didn't have me sweating, but they caught my attention. Particularly the awesome leg drop off the top rope. And I don't know how the announcers didn't make a bigger deal out of how much height Xavier Woods got on that leg drop. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that, the visual of the leg drop on Gunther. And again, it didn't have me nervous. I just looked up and peeked up and go, okay, we're fine, right? It was one of those. So Xavier Woods had a really good match with Gunther. He didn't lose anything here by losing. It was the right move. And also Gunther showing some range in his moveset. Not winning with the power bomb, but rather winning with a chokehold or a sleeper, and it put Xavier out. And it's a great time to introduce a new finish or an alternate finish. It makes sense. You want to expand your arsenal. You don't want to have the same trick in your hat all the time. And I like that. It's an ending I don't think anyone expected. Method of victory for Gunther is not anything anyone expected. I don't think anyone thought Xavier was going to win here, but it was a nice showing for Xavier, a nice showing for Gunther, a physical match. And again, it was a nice time for Xavier to show exactly what he can do outside of the same trombone he's been spewing into for the last 7 years.
Are you ready to be the happiest person that you know? I hope so, and I want to be the guy to take you there. My name is Joe, and I'm a retired firefighter, and I'm the happiest person that I know, despite the fact that several years ago, I literally had a gun to my own head after an on-the-job injury forced me into a medical retirement, followed by the loss of several loved ones, and a dark battle with grief, PTSD, and depression. But I fought my way out of that, and I prevailed, and I gained unshakable joy and the amazing ability to be totally okay, even when my life circumstances aren't okay at all. And now, nothing brings me greater happiness than sharing with people the tools that led me here, which is exactly what I'm doing at the Grit, Growth, and Gratitude podcast. I'm dropping episodes every week that teach you how to maximize your happiness when times are good and barrel through any obstacle when times are rough. So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, because you deserve to have way more thrive days than just survive days, and to have a kick-ass life that you enjoy. I'll see you there.
All right, let's keep on going here. And we got a women's tag team title match with Raquel and Liv versus Sonya Deville and Rachel Green. The match was fine. It was standard. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good. It just kind of was there. And I think it did what it needed to do outside of the evidence that continues to mound that Liv and Raquel are heels, or it's about to turn heel. They were obnoxious last week. They were a little bit this past week. I think they had a quick interview before their match. But not only that, they cheated to win. So, I mean, that I don't understand. If you're trying to keep them babyface, are we supposed to be excited or proud of our women's tag team champions that had to cheat to beat Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville? I mean, I'm no fans of them, specifically Sonya Deville, who's, I keep my feelings to myself. She's really good in the ring, but I'll leave it at there. I think Chelsea Green does have more than meets the eye. I think there's a lot to this kind of obnoxious, stereotypical, quote-unquote Karen that she's playing, and I like it. The water spot was weird. I thought she was going to sell the water as if it was burning her eyes or something. If I looked at her and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's going to sell it. She's going to sell the water. She didn't. It was more of just kind of a quick distraction to get her the victory, to get Liv the victory, with Raquel using her leg to keep Liv in place, which in turn kept the shoulders on the mat, meaning Liv wins. And they retained their tag team titles. Now, I will say that where the hell is Ronda and Shayna? Are they still with the company? I know that there's injury reports out there and everything. I have not heard anything confirmed. And it's a bit perplexing if they don't have anything for them, and that's the reason why they're not on TV. Now, if there's injury, fine. But I'm still trying to get confirmation that that's the case. I mean, I'm going to go with that, but it's just such a waste of a WrestleMania victory to have them get, I guess, cut in line by two different teams for a shot at the women's tag team titles. So just my 2 cents there. We also got a tag team match of Braun Strowman and Ricochet taking on the Viking Raiders with Valhalla. And this was a good match. It was, the nice false finish that I remember from this was it Ivar who did his big splash off the top, and we had a 2 count from Braun. That was a nice spot because he thought there was a chance, given nothing's really on the line other than pride, that we could have the baby faces lose here, and they didn't though. We had we had the launch off of Braun Strowman's shoulders from Ricochet to hit his splash on, was it Ivar or Eric? I think it was Eric, for the victory. So yeah, that's fine, but I was, and I don't even want to say it's fine. I don't even know if it's fine because, you know what? The Viking Raiders have been so on again, off again. Push them hard with vignettes, bring them back, have them lose, do backstage skits, try to rebuild themselves, and they lose. They just can't get momentum behind them. And I think there is value in the Viking Raiders. They did a nice job, they meaning the production team, of making the Viking Raiders feel like true Vikings and like a threat. Now, is Valhalla any kind of massive addition? No. I'm still, to me, the jury is still out on Valhalla if she adds or takes away from that whole dynamic of Eric and Ivar. she does a lot of the distraction stuff, which is to be expected, but I don't know if, to me, she really adds much, given that she doesn't talk much, and the announcers seem to be more scared of her than the opponents. Also, Karrion Kross is using, I guess, a form of tarot cards to choose his next opponents. I guess that's how he chooses them. He just has all the wrestlers on these tarot cards, and whichever one Scarlett happens to flip over is, that's who's next. Kind of a weird methodology. I don't quite understand it of how he's choosing his next opponents. However, I did appreciate in the promo the fact that he went over his previous opponents. Although he did say Riddick Moss instead of Madcap Moss. That was interesting. And he went through Rey Mysterio. He went through Drew McIntyre. All good stuff. I mean, I'm saying good stuff because I like that they remind us who his previous opponents were, because they were credible opponents. Even if he lost even in a losing effort, I think it's important to show us and remind the fans, especially if they're bigger names, who he's worked with. It helps. So that was important, and they were driving home the fact that not necessarily they lost those programs, which I think the vast majority he did, but rather he worked with them, and thereby you're thinking not necessarily the outcome, the decision of those matches, but the fact that he still worked with them. That's called rub, my friends. So, but again, I have no problem with we having the whole Karrion Kross turning over Shinsuke Nakamura's card. Okay, fine. TikTok. Okay, the match is coming. I don't mind Shinsuke versus Karrion Kross. To me, it's new. Okay, it's new. It's likely going to be a very good match, and maybe Karrion Kross gets a victory here. But I have my doubts when a returning star gets into a program. How often do we see that returning star get the victory? More often than not, right? So I would imagine that it's going to be a Shinsuke Nakamura victory at the end of the day. All right. So SmackDown did open, though, with a tag team match. Damien Priest and Finn versus Rey and Santos Escobar. This was, I thought, a very good match. Rey and Santos Escobar work very well together as a team. They are a nice, fluid tag team. And this was, again, no issues with the match here. It did end with Rey getting tossed into the ring post, and then we had Damien Priest hit a South of Heaven on Escobar and got the victory in just about 11 minutes. And then after the match, Priest got on the mic and told Bad Bunny, said Bad Bunny would return on Raw, and he hoped it went better for him this time than it did last time. And, I have no problem with Bad Bunny coming back and competing in the ring. I have no problem with it. But for them to talk about how, he's a singer, he's not a wrestler. Well, he wrestled at WrestleMania, right? Like last year. So, no, he can go. Let's not pretend that he's not an actual trained performer. He is. I know that he does his tour and he takes his music as a number one priority, but let's not pretend that he's some newbie. And having the whole deal of him hosting Backlash makes sense. It's in the Dominican or Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. So he's going to be involved in a match, no doubt about it. I think that's a good thing. But I've never seen, at least in recent memory, how many times are we going to hear about the Bad Bunny story? How many replays of this, slam through the table are we going to get? And by the way, if they're saying he's not a trained performer, he's just a musician, then what is he coming to Raw to, quote unquote, their words, seek revenge? Is he going to, do a mic battle? It's just a weird dynamic. Anyway, clearly Bad Bunny's coming to Raw to get physical, to to kick somebody's ass. That's exactly what he's there for, and to set up the match at Backlash. I'd imagine it's going to be Bad Bunny and Rey Mysterio versus Dom and Damien. That's what my hunch is. All right. So let's see. Zelina Vega was backstage, and by the way, it's good to see her back. Okay. I think that right now Zelina's in a weird place because Legado del Fantasma is on hold because they need to reform the LWO because they had Backlash coming up and they need to placate to their Puerto Rican audience. Let's call a spade here. But it's nice to see Zelina going up to Adam Pearce and asking for a title shot from Rhea Ripley, and admitting her shortcomings, pun intended, I guess. And Adam Pearce seemed open to the idea. So it seems as if this match is going to be happening. Zelina Vega versus Rhea Ripley in Puerto Rico. Is there any chance of Zelina Vega winning? There's a better chance of WWE sending me a developmental contract right now with a guaranteed WrestleMania main event spot. I mean, it's not going to happen. Now, taking that expectation away, or even that thought away about the end, because the end is all but set in stone, is Zelina Vega showing out, right? It's about her showing management, showing the fans what she can still do and what she's capable of moving forward. So if I were Zelina, I wouldn't be so concerned about this being, oh, the fans, I got to make them believe I can win. No. You're not going to, it's not going to happen. You can do your best. Nobody, even your most loyal fan, is not going to believe that you can beat Rhea Ripley. It makes no sense. I don't care if you try hook or crook. It ain't going to happen. No way, no how, right? So if that's not an option of even trying to make the fans care about who wins or loses, it's about now, how can I impress management? How can I maximize my minutes, which are probably going to be under 10 minutes with Rhea? And the answer is bust your ass. Yeah, work with Rhea. Nothing I don't need to tell, right, Zelina Vega. It's like I'm giving her advice. My point is, this is about maximizing minutes for Zelina and giving her a spot that she hasn't had in a long time. So, also the draft. Draft starts next week, folks. Draft. That means everything gets shaken up next week. And then on Raw, it'll follow up a week from Monday. We'll get part 2 of the draft. So I don't know how they're running it. I don't know if the draft is going to be run by the War Rooms. My God, I hope not. Remember that from, was it 2019, 2020? When they had the War Rooms for Fox and USA, and they had to pretend, the executives had to pretend that they're wrestling fans and know what the hell they're doing. And then when they would put a pick in, and it's some mid-card dude, they're cheering like they just got Stone Cold to come out of retirement. It was so embarrassing. So I'd imagine they're not going to do that. I'd imagine that it's just going to be, hey, these were the picks negotiated hours ago. The results are in. Here's who SmackDown got. Boom, boom, boom. Call it a day. The thing is, though, when you have a 2 to 3 hour show to cut, you're not going to want to just condense your picks into one segment. I'm sure you string it along, give dribs and drabs, and make the story for next week for SmackDown and the following week for Raw all about the draft picks, and the call-ups, which Michael Cole alluded to as well. The call-ups from NXT, which are very, very likely. So things are about to get really interesting really quickly in WWE. If you are looking for kind of a different feel to both shows, I think you're about to get that. All right. Let's see. We've got, I already talked about the tag team match. Liv Morgan, I already talked about. I'm scrolling through the results, guys, making sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see. I think that was it. So at least for SmackDown, but for Raw, I did go over Cody and his brawl with the security, i.e. the local wrestling talent that put security shirts on that got their ass kicked by Cody Rhodes. I mean, sorry, it's not believable. Like if it's Brock Lesnar a dude of that stature is believable, that he could just toss these carcasses around. For Cody, he's in shape. He's muscular. He's done a great job to kill himself to get into that shape. But I'm sorry. It's I don't know. It's kind of laughable. It didn't hurt the storyline for me. And in fact, I'm still interested in hearing an explanation for Brock. Do I think we'll get it? No, I don't. I don't think at this point WWE is looking at this and saying, oh crap, that's right, Brock never talked about why he did what he did. Nope. The answer is, I think we got past it, guys. The fans didn't notice. We really didn't give them an answer. At this point, they just want to see Cody beat up Brock, so we're in the clear. We don't need to come up with anything. I really believe that's what they're thinking. And I hate it. It's lazy, and it's inconsistent with just basic storytelling logic and ability. So if we don't get an explanation from Brock before the Backlash event, I mean, that's a bad job out of WWE to allow that to happen. But all right, let's talk about Seth and The Miz. That match, got to give the devil his due, was really good. Way better than I expected it to be. I don't think it had any business being that good. For what? And Miz showing some aggression? I'm good with that too. You know why? Because they had a lot of rebuilding to do of The Miz getting his ass kicked for 2 nights on WrestleMania and being the butt of every joke of every Miz TV and losing every single match that he has a blow off for. That, I think, was a necessary step for The Miz to move forward with. Even in a losing effort, I think seeing The Miz be aggressive and competitive and show us he can still put on a really good match, albeit with one of the best of all time with Seth Rollins, it still is encouraging if you're a Miz fan. And I hope this continues. Keep Miz TV off my screen. We know what the Miz TV segment is. We know the format of it. I think fans are ready to see a different side of The Miz. And Lord knows I am. All right, we also got Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley in a non-title match. This match was good, but given that neither man, and I think I said this on my Raw review, neither man can really afford to lose right now. Both kind of need to keep things rolling. It made sense that Bronson Reed interfered. Austin Theory got a shot in that allowed Bronson Reed to continue to beat down Lashley. And Bronson Reed is making a name for himself right now. Bronson Reed is on the ascent. Bronson Reed is moving up. Bronson Reed needs to get a rub. All of the above. And he's going to get that from Bobby Lashley. Even if he ends up losing to him at Backlash, which the match isn't official yet, but I would think that it's going to be by Monday. So Bronson Reed destroyed Bobby and got a nice reaction from it. Although, just like in Trish's promo, the crowd reaction seemed very manufactured. The booing sounded very manufactured especially during the Trish promo. I don't know if anybody was there live. If anybody was there live on Raw last Monday, please write into the show and tell us, okay, was that really how loud it was when Trish was speaking about why she did what she did? I mean, I have my doubts. So, all right. So that's, I think, pretty much wrapping up the highlights of this week. I'm looking through some of the details. We got Solo Sikoa versus Rey Mysterio, where Solo beat Rey in 12 minutes on Raw. We got the Raw Women's Championship, or Raw Women's Champion, Bianca versus Dakota Kai. And we got Bianca Belair beating Dakota Kai in about 10 minutes. Boy, oh boy. Bianca is just not exciting at all right now. We got the Cody Rhodes beatdown of 25 different security guards. The Seth Rollins and Miz we just went through. We went through the U.S. champion of Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed interfering, and Trish. I did touch on that a little bit, and I think she did a nice solid job given the spectrum of Trish promos. It was on the upper end of that spectrum, I think, and the logic was a little flawed, but it was generally a coherent argument for why she did what she did. She doesn't want to be anybody's sidekick or anybody's childhood fantasy, right? She is the one that she said is responsible for the women's revolution. Fine, all believable, and I'm on board. Now it's just how does this evolve from here? So they have me hooked on that. And boy, isn't Trish infinitely more interesting now than she was just a week ago? Funny how a heel turn can do that. We got Chelsea Green and Sonya versus Candice LeRae and Michin. Of course, Sonya and Chelsea win here, and they won at about 3 minutes there. We got, let's see, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Riddle versus the Judgment Day. As you remember from Raw, we got an alliance, a temporary alliance between the Judgment Day and the Bloodline. And really, the Bloodline are the only ones that held up their end of the deal. I don't know if there will be any consequences for Judgment Day not filling their end of the deal by beating Kevin, Sami, and Riddle, because they didn't. And I wonder. So, also, next week on SmackDown is a rematch, a WrestleMania rematch with the Usos versus KO and Sami for those tag team titles, those undisputed tag team titles. I would imagine that there is the same percentage of chance that Kevin and Sami drop the belts here as as Zelina Vega beating Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I mean, ain't going to happen is a very blunt way of putting it. Okay, yes, blunt is the word I would use, and I just don't think that there's really any story here to tell beyond not who's going to win or retain in this case, but rather, is Roman floating around? What does this mean for Roman and the Usos dynamic? That is really what is at stake here, not really the championships, because those championship belts are staying over the shoulders / waist of Kevin and Sami, I think, for 3 to 6 months minimum. So, all right, well, that'll do it for my weekend review, guys. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day or night. And I'll be back tomorrow with Anthony DeMarco as we cover more of the WWE draft. I'm sure the Roman Reigns situation, maybe some other things. We'll figure out the topic tomorrow. But if you want to head on over and give us a 5-star rating and review, I'd really appreciate it over at Apple Podcasts. You can also, as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, join us on Patreon for $1 a month. Get you in the door for ad-free experience for hundreds of episodes, or Apple Podcasts for $2.99 a month. Not bad if you want to just use the native app. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Are you ready to be the happiest person that you know? I hope so, and I want to be the guy to take you there. My name is Joe, and I'm a retired firefighter, and I'm the happiest person that I know, despite the fact that several years ago, I literally had a gun to my own head after an on-the-job injury forced me into a medical retirement, followed by the loss of several loved ones, and a dark battle with grief, PTSD, and depression. But I fought my way out of that, and I prevailed, and I gained unshakable joy and the amazing ability to be totally okay, even when my life circumstances aren't okay at all. And now, nothing brings me greater happiness than sharing with people the tools that led me here, which is exactly what I'm doing at the Grit, Growth, and Gratitude podcast. I'm dropping episodes every week that teach you how to maximize your happiness when times are good and barrel through any obstacle when times are rough. So subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts, because you deserve to have way more thrive days than just survive days, and to have a kick-ass life that you enjoy. I'll see you there.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.